Yeah.
It's another session from our famous Halloween session of Poker Time. There's Rafi dressed as a banana. Still.
That's a banana dressed as Rafi.
Wow.
Jonathan.
Sometimes you don't know, right? Two trench coats
Yeah.
dressed as a kid, you know? Trying to get into a movie theater. Here's Marty. He's surely not going to size it that big. Yeah, there we go.
He wants that blind bet.
Is the shirt wearing me? Or am I wearing the shirt?
That's right. I don't have to clean the towel. The towel cleans me. DM5 with a real hand for once in his life. It must be exhilarating.
Raise 160.
It is. He
He is
3-bets.
3-betting.
Will it get through Marty is the real question. It will. It was quite-
160? I mean, even Marty will fold having limped with 9-6 off for 160.
well, you say that now that we have evidence, but I don't think it was a
yeah,
given.
you're right.
I've seen crazier
You're right.
things from Marty. The rooster here with the 2 7s on the button. This feels like a no chance you can fold at spot against DM5.
Yeah, DM5 a very active player for those who haven't been paying attention.
The one really good thing for DM5 about raising this hand specifically is Joseph's probably not going to give him credit for 10s and 9s on the board, but is going to give him credit for some bigger cards.
Yeah, for sure. This seems like a must-see bet and must-call type of board.
Yeah. DM5 will have a bunch of good cards to barrel with on the turn.
Bet.
Jack of clubs sort of being the best.
Don't worry about that cough, people. This was recorded long before the pandemic.
Yes. This is pre-coronavirus, we're happy to say. One day maybe we'll be showing. Oh, my goodness. And the rooster
Oh.
just lets it go. Joseph says, no.
I don't know about that.
Deuce is good.
Joseph seems like he was playing it just to set mine, which I don't think you can do at that stack depth against DM5 in position. I think when you get a board like that, you have to at least see one more card with 2 7s, right?
I mean, I agree with you. I think Joseph was thinking about the future streets that he didn't want to call down 3 streets of bluffs, and so decided to let go of it now instead, assuming he was getting a second barrel like a lot of the time, which is reasonable against DM5. But I agree with you. I think we just
call
have
down 3 streets of bluffs. Of course,
Yeah.
you want to call down 3 streets of bluffs, and you win.
I'm surprised he folded. We've seen Joseph make a lot of like hero calls too, so and hero folds, I guess.
I can beat a
But
deuce.
that was a surprising
Raise 35.
fold for sure.
Fold.
A little something. Little Maxwell.
Now Joseph's considering calling with the King 7 suited.
I don't know if Timmer's the guy to do this against. Timmer is relatively tight compared to a lot of the table.
Agreed. Let's see what Wonka does with 2 jacks here. He knows it's Timmer's +1 range, which is pretty tight, but jacks is a hell of a hand, and I don't think Wonka wants to play it 3 ways out of position at least. Because Rafi could still come in.
What do you think, like 145, 150?
I think it's closer to 150.
145.
I think he said 145, though. Yep. I said closer to 150, not
Wonka.
150. So I meant like 148.
Call.
Me and Wonka are paging, which means on the same page is what the millennials say.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't know what the millennials say, and I guess you would because you
No,
are.
you're not paging. You're not paging with them, so you
Yeah.
wouldn't understand.
It's a pretty good flop for
jacks.
Wonka. Yeah, like not too many queens in Timmer's range, especially with 2 of them on the board. Is Timmer even calling with like king queen? I don't think he is. Maybe suited, but maybe not.
Fold.
Yeah, ace queen is probably the only queen Wonka's got to worry about here. Timmer
Yeah.
could have 9s full, of course, but
Of course.
it's worth a protection bet there. Makes sense.
Honestly, the other thing that's good for Wonka is Timmer's going to play his really big hands fast. We've seen him do it multiple times. So if he has aces or kings, he's probably just putting in the 4-bet right away. So Wonka
noticed
can.
the same thing.
It's really just pocket 9s and ace queen, and maybe king queen suited that Wonka has to worry about. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, go
I
back to
agree.
3 betting with garbage. Do that again.
And he can definitely get action
I
from like
take
2
back everything I
10s
said
and
earlier.
other pocket pairs for sure.
How does he do it? Who ordered what? Oh, okay.
Fold. Fold.
So Rafi texted me to tell me he had a good story about why he was wearing the banana suit, or the banana, not why he was wearing it, but a good story about the banana suit. And so
I don't
I
know.
was like,
you could become. You could be subpoenaed if you hear that story. You know. Like,
Well, here's the really quick version of it, because he texted it to me. He was in Israel, and there was some guy from Portland who was wearing a banana suit. And the guy, it turns out, worked in a grocery store close to where he lives in America. And so
hey, this
then...
is bad time for that story because we have queens
All
against
right.
aces.
Let's not get into it. The story's bad anyway. That was the joke. The story's terrible. So we don't have to hear the rest of it. The story is then Rafi bought a banana suit. The end. All right.
He's an elite
Probably-
Scrabble player. Don't expect him to also be an elite storyteller.
Yeah, I did when he said he had a good story. But anyway, so Rafi puts in the 4-bet here, makes it 25% of his stack. This could be a real problem. Usually he's just going to have to get it in against Wonka, I think, right? Once you make it that much with queens specifically.
Yeah, I agree. It sucks to get it in for this many chips, but it seems like you just sort of have to against a player who's capable of at least sometimes going with it light, but not that frequently. Maybe against
No.
Rafi specifically, Wonka can go with it light because he knows Rafi has moves.
Well,
right?
but
So-
Rafi's also seen as one of the tighter players in Portland among the good players for sure. And I know Wonka sees him that way. Here's the re-raise by Wonka. And you can see the unhappiness.
Yeah, let's just watch the pain.
Yeah. Here's one of those time cards. Rafi only gets 4 of them to start with, and they're 30 seconds each. You have to believe Wonka is capable of doing this with ace-king here.
It's a really not fun spot in poker. You just feel dumb either way. I mean, unless you call and he has jacks, then you don't feel dumb. But you fold, you're like, why did I just lose 450 with queens without seeing a flop?
Yeah.
Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
You call, you're like, oh, he has aces. Of course he has aces. You know?
Yep. Look how unhappy is Rafi. I think really aware of his rep as being pretty tight when he's 4-betting. That may be one of the reasons why Wonka just moved him in right away. I mean, with aces and that the stack sizing, it's pretty reasonable anyway, of course. Looks like he does get away from it.
Good fold. That's tough to fold against a capable player. It's always easy against the good players to convince yourself they're just pushing you around too.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder what Wonka's true range is there against Rafi when he 5-bets all in at that spot. You know, does he actually, I assume he has ace-king. Does he have jacks? Does he ever have 10s? We've seen him 5-bet all in against Digital Dan with king-queen before. Does he ever have that against Rafi?
Yep.
Or is it just like
Does he have?
the really big hands?
Actually,
All right. I mean, does he have like ace 5 suited?
Right.
It's hard to know.
in that spot, no.
I assume not very often if he has it, but does he? But yeah, like, is that a profitable fold for Rafi in the long term? Is the real question we're asking, right? And I don't know how we know that, but we
My guess would be yes. I think it's a yes,
probably.
but it is very close.
I mean, how often have we seen Wonka 5-bet light? I think once, and it was king queen, right?
Worked out spectacularly well for him.
Did.
For those who have good memories and have been watching Poker Time for a while, that was Digital Dan's worst session ever, and included a lot of hands like that where Wonka happened to be up against jacks. Dan happened to find the call there and lose.
Wins just a little.
Marty with the real
Marty has
hand, but
king
he's,
queen twice in a row, and this time he limps it. Unless perhaps he didn't turn his cards in quick enough for the software to turn over
Oh.
the hand. Maybe he doesn't have king queen.
I'm pretending he has king queen. That's what I'm going with. Feels good.
DM5 just is like, I don't care what my hand is.
Well, the
I'm just
truth
gonna
is,
raise.
Marty's range is infinite when he limps there, right?
Yeah.
And time to bring out the big guns. Wait a second. That's not 75. Okay, good. I thought it was 75.
that wouldn't have been the big guns. 150 though. That should generate some fold equity. Although if Marty really has king queen, I don't expect him to fold that.
Agreed.
Even though he limped, and I think he probably should fold it for 140 more against wheel.
Agreed again. But there's the call. He probably does have king queen. And now it starts to get interesting. DM5 usually calls in these spots. Yeah.
He did.
Now, Wonka, I think, kind of has to call.
Yeah, I mean, he could make the nut flush. That's probably good enough for this situation.
Yeah. You know, he can make the wheel. He can flop trip threes, whatever. Look at the price he's getting.
Well, this is an uncomfortable spot for a wheel if he doesn't flop really clean.
Yep. That is definitely true. And 3 nines.
That is.
Rafi has the
And
best hand.
somehow, the only full house is Rafi somehow.
Will wheel bet this
I think
5 ways.
It'll work. It'll for sure work if he does.
Looks like he is. Well, he always takes a long time in these spots, whatever he does. So, and he checks.
He checks it.
It's reasonable to check this way. What a turn card. Now he's chopping with Wonka. Just
Still not such a bad
squeeze.
chop when so many players entered
Yeah.
the pot pre-flop, each putting 150 in.
Problem is there's no value to get at this point either. Like no one's going to call except the chops. Or if someone ever had quad nines, of course. So I actually think Wheel should probably check this too and try and induce a bluff from somebody.
Just try to avoid the old 9 on the river.
Bet 300.
I mean, you'll be chopping anyway if a 9 comes, right?
No, you'll be chopping with everybody if a 9 comes. Instead
Oh
of just
yeah,
one player.
fine. Okay, fair enough. But I would rather try and induce a bluff from Marty or something, or DM5. If it checks through a second time, DM5 might feel obligated
agree.
to take a shot.
I agree.
Especially when there's just no card that
Wonka.
can come, right? Wonka, of course, is gonna. He's thinking about raising, but he knows he can't.
No, calling is the only play. He probably expects that he's chopping with
Yeah.
wheel, but you know, sometimes we've seen wheel show up with bluffs. It's rare
Sure.
in big spots, but we've seen it before. That 3 doesn't change anything, so you got to just let wheel bluff if wheel has a bluff, right? That's
Yeah.
the only move for Wonka.
Wonka's basically free rolling this spot, right? Like he's either chopping or winning almost 100% of the time.
Yeah, I don't see wheel with too many 9s in his 3 betting range there.
Yeah. It's a weird spot for Wheel where I guess he should bet for value on the river, but I don't know how he's ever getting called by worse, you know?
Right. I don't know if you should actually. Like Wonka actually could have 9s because
Yes.
of the odds he was getting when the 3 bet came around to him. He can have suited 9s like 9-7 plus. In a lot of like up to Jack 9
Except for the
suited
turn
probably.
might have
Yeah.
hit The banana.
It's so weird to check top full house like that, you know, back. But I don't know if there's any value. At least Wheel's the pre-flop aggressor there, you know, so he could be bluffing. He could be the guy who takes a shot with the ace and takes another shot, but when he bets 400, he always has it. I mean, he always has it anyway. He's never going to bet again on it without it, right? Like Wonka always has an ace.
Yeah. They both have a king.
Like pretty much always.
Pretty much. Or a 9.
4 9s and an 8.
Right, or a 9.
Oh, 4 9s.
I mean, if he really only has those 2 things, I guess we should just always check and be like, feel dumb and check anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I mean, Wonka's not calling, even if he has 2 kings and he played it that way. I don't think he's calling the turn.
Raise 35.
Probably not. But even if he calls the turn, it's really hard to imagine him calling the river. Against DM5, sure. But against Wheel, I just don't
Yeah.
think so. Wonk with the sneaky call with 10s against DM5's infinite raising range.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I understand balancing and stuff, but DM5's going to call a 3 bet almost all the time. I think
Yeah,
putting in a relatively sizable raise to get value from DM5 is not a bad idea with 10s
I agree.
there. You get the apocalypse flop for 2 10s without a heart.
but still the best hand.
Somehow.
Bet 55.
But not for long, because it's going to end up in the muck.
So I wouldn't be 200.
And this hand's just going to be over. And DM5 probably assumes he had the best hand. But,
After he folds, I fold, goes his hand.
you know, honestly, Wonka probably ends up losing that pot, even if he 3 bets. DM5 probably ends up winning it, right? He calls on the flop, Wonka checks back the turn, DM5 bets the river, and I don't know, maybe Wonka
I don't
can find
know.
a call. With 3
Yeah.
hearts out there. Maybe he can find a call.
I could believe when he folds it.
Maybe DM5 folds the flop.
So I get like 5.
You really working on your tight 5, huh?
Beat the next minute.
Maybe DM5 folds the flop. That's
Hey,
ridiculous.
speaking of DM5, it's
Folding the
dangerous
flop.
when he has a hand. And it looks like he does.
A long delay. I mean, I don't know what the deal
And he
was.
limps.
And he limps.
1 and 2.
Wow.
And, you know, yeah.
Wow. He does limp a lot, in fairness to DM5. And there's Rafi raising.
I think
Falling
number one
right
was
into the
2.
trap.
I don't know. They lost some riders, so that's part of the reason for the delay.
Ooh, now that Stewart's called, DM5 could have considered maybe flatting if he can get more callers, but with Stewart calling now, I think DM5 should put in a 3-bet.
Oh, for sure. I think he probably should anyway because he's going to be out of position. But seems like the cameraman thinks we're going to go to a flop. But for sure, DM5 is going to re-raise, right?
Yeah.
There we
Raise.
go. And Rafi can't love that. Yeah.
Stewart's going to be getting, not the best price.
Yeah, not
For
really
implied
good
odds.
enough. I mean, it depends on who you talk to with set mining theory about how deep you have to be. I like being deeper rather than not. So I feel like you should be able to win like 15 to 1 on your price. And Stewart's getting like 12 to 1 on that. So I think it's fine to fold.
Button strudels.
Yeah.
The one thing is, of course, DM5 really doesn't have to have you beat there.
True.
So
But it's tough
Stewart's,
to continue on like a 10-7
Yeah.
boost board when DM5 bets,
well, I mean, you call once, but then, yeah, you
Push
just lose
ups
a
on
lot
the
of money.
break, Jay. You'd have been
Just
in.
hard. And he's the kind of guy who's going to triple barrel you and a lot. So. And sometimes he's going to do it with worse hands that could have enough value that they shouldn't be triple barreling. So, hey, Wheels got 3 high.
Wheel is entering Marty territory.
Wheels got a chance to have the nut low. A reasonable chance. In fact, a
don't
good
enter-
chance.
You don't enter Marty territory. You make Marty follow you out into the light. You don't want to enter the darkness of Marty territory where you don't know what's going to happen.
What do you think, like, customs is like?
You think there's customs? There's like a ghoul at the door that screams at you as you go by.
It challenges you with a riddle, and if you get the riddle right, you're allowed to go through. So DM5 raises to $50 with the 4 deuce, and we see Wheel gets away from his dominated deuce because he had a 3 deuce.
Nice fold.
And DM5 flops the best.
These are the ranges of madmen.
Madmen. That's exactly right. This is like the movie The Lighthouse.
I hear it's quite a thriller.
I haven't actually seen it, but it's about 2 crazy dudes, right? Something like that.
I think it's more than that, man. I don't think you get it, man. I'm saying this as a person who has not seen the movie, man.
You're a huge Robert Pattinson fan, in fairness to you, right? Like, huge. Like, you loved... Which
Yeah.
Twilight movie do you think he was best in?
Which one did he glisten the hardest in?
Well, I mean, okay. I guess that's how you could interpret that question. That's fine.
And actually, this is a little known fact, but real fans don't call it Twilight. They know the correct pronunciation is Twillet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you like Breaking Dawn Part 2 better than Part 1, or did you feel it was unnecessary?
It's actually Breaking Dawn.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can answer your question when you don't even know how to say the words, so I'm going to let you study up, and then we can have a discussion.
Here's another one of
Hey,
those
Marty's
spots.
got a hand.
160.
The guy who plays every hand in the world and plays it fast has a real hand. How about
That's
that?
the good thing about being Marty is people are not going to believe you when you have it.
There has to be some upside to this style, and we found it.
Yeah.
So Will just can't fold the hand like King Jack against Marty, right? You just
No.
can't do it.
I think against the majority of the table, this is an easy fold, but against Marty, you just have to see a flop with this hand.
I think so.
Show me something sexy.
Oh, it flops really good, sir.
Are you gonna show me one?
You just call and... I mean, if Wheel flops, if it's a jack high flop, Wheel's going to lose. Wheel might just have to double Marty up, on a lot of jack high flops.
Did Will, by the way, say, show me something sexy? Because I
mean,
think he did.
probably. Am I dreaming right now, or is this actually? Are we awake?
We might have to call the lawyers over this one, with Will and the interns and their history, how they pine after him.
Well, it just gets away from it. Well, it turns out Wheel was right this time. We get another nice look at DM5 and
Yeah,
Wonka.
I was gonna say don't show him the 7 here.
That's pretty unlucky for Marty just not to get any real action with the queens. Similar to DM5, by the way. These guys with their reps, they still just don't get good action.
Shut up, Joseph.
No, I'm I was wondering to myself, and I know I was wondering out loud. Maybe that was wrong. I apologize.
And we're back.
But,
Hallelujah.
like if he raised my big blind earlier, he didn't have to show me a card. You know. So that's when I peeled with Motown. Yeah, in position. Jack
The
five
poor
suited.
banana man. I want him to win some hands.
Yeah.
He looks
So
so
the,
sad in his banana suit.
so the story is he met a guy in Israel who happened to be wearing the banana suit at a costume party. Found out the guy lived close to him, or worked close to him in a grocery store, and like a year later, went to the grocery store wearing a banana suit. That's the great story. So the story is basically he bought a banana suit. You know? That's it.
Oh, I mean, he went to the grocery store wearing a banana suit. That's notable. I've not done that.
Actually, that's true. But he didn't, say like, and people couldn't believe it. That wasn't part of it.
I would think he was there to sell bananas. If I was at the grocery store and I saw a guy in a banana suit.
I mean, you know what? Maybe he was there to sell bananas. Maybe he's selling bananas right now. Wonka's going to lead here. Interesting
Interesting play.
lead. Board is as dry as
Not
it
something
gets.
you typically see. Not
Yeah.
something you typically see from the good players. This is seems like a protection, find out where you are type bet that is typically known as a donk bet for good reason, but Wonka's obviously got more nuanced thought behind it. He thinks this is the type of board he needs to protect his equity on, and it's worth the kind of face-uppedness of the bet, perhaps.
I think he's a little worried that it's going to check through a fair amount, too. Or he's going to just, by giving up the betting lead and being out of position, he's trying to neutralize that a little bit with a hand that does have, some backdoor equity as well with the diamonds. He knows he's calling at least one bet. It's an interesting play. I think there should be more plays like that. I think there should be more donking it in poker than there is by a lot. A
Well,
lot
I think
more-
it could be brought back, but
Yeah.
the reason that it was thought of as such a bad play back when it was labeled as a donk bet is because it was always such an obvious and thin range of hands that were trying to find out where they were that were
Yeah.
pretty weak, kind of like Wonka's hand was there, and that's really easy to exploit. But
Yes.
if you bring it back with balance in mind, with the GTO perspective, and you can't exploit those leads because players are balanced, then sure, I think it's something that can come back and can be profitable. But, it really has to be studied and worked on in order to come up with ranges on all the different types of boards to make sure you can't get exploited, because you are kind of putting yourself out there with that type of play.
My wife and I
You are. I wonder how many people are really exploiting at this point because it's been so long since
from here.
people were doing it. I mean, I know in a 1-2
I'm
game
still-
people are doing it.
I mean,
but
I haven't played live poker for a while, but when we were playing live poker, I was constantly exploiting that play from players who I knew were doing it the old-fashioned way.
really?
Constantly, yeah.
Fair
Still a thing.
Okay. I will cede to your experience on that one.
60.
So here we go. Did Marty just limp re-raise? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. This time he's ace-9 in. Little bit of a better hand.
DM5
Yeah.
gonna call with King 6.
Well, if he could see the hands,
I mean-
he would call for sure. But
Yeah.
this kind of play has worked for DM5 for years on Poker Time, but it seems like it can't keep working. Could Wonka be thinking about putting in a 4-bet right here?
I think he must be thinking about that, considering his opponents.
No, I folded pre-flop.
Ultimately, he lets it go. Maybe he's just thinking about, like, can I find a call?
Yeah,
I think he probably could have. Turns out, though, pretty good
It
fold.
was just more good talking points.
Dominated
The rest of
ace.
the table didn't want to join us.
And there you go, DM5. Always easy.
And Marty just doesn't even take a shot.
Wow.
DM5 with a quick check back and turns to pair.
Now Marty's betting. And big. Real big. I don't think
Marty
he
has,
counted that one
Marty
out.
has no idea how much. Marty has no idea how much he just bet.
It's
He
a- it's just-
he
it's
took
a-
a chunk of chips.
It's a fistful. Whatever a fistful is.
Yeah. The fact that
Yeah.
he noticed that, I think that's
That was crazy to see him. I mean, I've seen people do that before, but usually not in cash. Those are real dollars. Oh, and Marty gets there.
Hey,
What a miracle.
lucky Marty. Good for Marty. This is the first session we've seen for a long time where DM and Marty bets 10.
No, he goes
Oh
all.
no, he said all in. Okay. We haven't seen DM5
the 7.
with
Show him the
such a
7.
bad run
9 ball corner
forever.
pocket.
I mean, he's just his stuff has not been working this time.
Yeah.
He's finally getting his comeuppance for
Tiny bit.
crushing these games for so long.
I mean, I think DM5 is probably calling a lot of rivers if on that river, even if Marty doesn't bet so much, though. Marty has a 9. He blocks the hand he most wants DM5 to have, the bottom end of the
Yeah.
straight. Marty still goes all in for more than pot. I think that's a huge mistake. Like, he's got to bet small. DM5 loves to call, if he has anything. He's probably calling with 2
I
pairs.
almost won.
Might be right about
I
that.
almost did it for you.
Yeah.
I was like ahead of you. I was going to do it
Yeah. Just been waiting
quicker,
for it to come.
but for you.
So in that way, DM5 got a little lucky.
It's on your face.
Might save like $350.
We get the rare limp out of Stewart.
Yeah, sparkle.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on
What do you
with
think
that.
about this?
I'm shocked.
I hate the
The only other time we've seen Stuart. Nope, I can't think of another time I've seen Stuart limp under the gun.
The third real.
Wonka's probably thinking the same thing, but Ace King is just too good. Also, you can't let, can't see a pot flop 6 ways with this hand
Raise
and expect to ever win. Whoa, did Timmer just fold 2 5s? Timmer just folded 2 5s.
Well, Marty's going to show him what to do with a 5.
Yeah, that's what you do. Marty has 10-5 off though, and that's a rough hand to call with.
It's a little different than 2 5s.
Yeah.
Check.
Well, Stuart has the best of it right now, but there's no way to know that. Will Wonka continue on this board? Looks like he will.
Bet 100 fold.
Yeah. 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 That's it. 2 straight draws.
Marty showing everybody his excellent pre-flop range.
See Stuart's eyes just like dart up to Wonka.
Jack 9.
Like, do you see this? Do you see what's happening?
I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise at this point, should it?
I mean, you know, limp calling a raise with 10-5 off is still a little shocking. To me, it's a little shocking. There goes Wheel. Yep, that's normal. That's how he eats, people. Not just candy.
Yeah. If it was a hamburger, the buns would act as the paper surrounding the candy acted there, where he just like kind of opens it up and lets the hamburger fall out into his mouth.
Yeah, Wheel actually told me he was brought up. His mother practiced mastication, so she would chew up the food and he'd open his mouth and then she would spit it into his mouth. It's like a little baby bird, and so he's still like you can see the remnants of that still, and in fact he prefers that. But of course,
40.
you know, not too many people are going to do that now. You know, you need to have someone who's clean, obviously, clean mouth, which is
That's good. That's
hard to
good
find these
research on the
days.
players.
Raise.
Yeah, you know, we do all the work we need to do here. So Marty has pocket 8s and puts in yet another limp re-raise. At this point,
Got
the
the
players
best of it, but he's
yeah.
got a lot of competition here for good flops as far as a lot of overcards to dodge.
He's got 5 overcards. That's going to be tough. No way Wheel's folding. I wonder if Wheel's thinking about putting in a re-raise here. Not crazy.
10 seconds.
No, I think it's actually a reasonable idea against Marty when Marty does this, but Marty might not fold anything that's medium strength, kind of like he has. Maybe that's okay because he might also not fold worse hands than King Queen.
I mean, Marty's going to move in a lot, though, so we have to be prepared to actually call off with King Queen suited.
Yeah,
I think, which is
That's true.
the one reason not to do it. When we're on the button too, it's fine just to call.
Check.
And
Check.
the Queen is the best hand currently. Stuart has the gutter.
and the backdoor flush draw.
Bingo,
and there's
bango.
the gutter, and that is a good card for Stewart and a terrible card for Wheel. Although Wheel should know that there's a little bit of danger on that king particularly.
Is Marty? Oh, I thought Marty was going to bet, but Stuart now.
Bet.
Stuart's in such good shape.
Fold. Fold.
Just needs to dodge a king or a queen.
Wheel really has to call here, I think. This sucks. Although I guess he can get there. He can still get there. All 4 outs are alive.
Call.
Now, does he call the river on an innocuous card? That's
Well,
the question. That's
we'll
not
never know.
innocuous. So, well, Stewart has the second nuts. Should he go for value?
I say yes. Wheel's not the type to bluff. If Wheel has the ace of diamonds, we're losing a bet anyway. Because we're going to check call for sure with a hand this strong. We got to try and get value out of worse hands that might call.
10 seconds.
Mostly the 10 of diamonds, like ace 10 with the 10 of diamonds. That's our best hope.
Maybe other diamonds too, though. See, Wheel thinks he got
Stewart bet
rivered.
really small. I like this. I like this really small bet. I think this really gives Stewart a chance to get called by worse hands. Whereas if he bet a more normal or bigger size, I think he probably folds out everything that he's beating against Wheel specifically.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I mean, if Wheel has almost any diamond, he may feel obligated to call this river, getting 7-1. But I don't see how he can really reasonably call with king queen when Stuart bets into the whole world and then bets again when the diamond comes. He just
Right. If this was somehow a bluff, I don't know how Stuart gets here with a bluff. Like, it's really cool that he would bet 200 as a bluff, but I also don't know how he gets here with a bluff that easily. You know?
It's really tough.
Yeah.
Wheel might call, though. He's at least considering it. So Stuart sizing. Yep, Stuart sizing gets paid.
Rafi, did you see?
Nice job, Stuart.
Same as when he wasn't in the hand.
Wheel gets to find
Yeah,
out that he
yeah.
didn't get rivered, so that's nice for him. He'll always have that.
Well, you can tell yourself you got rivered. I see players do it all the time.
Even when you didn't?
Yeah. Or
Yeah, I
they
guess-
say
Yeah.
you hit a 3-outer when the player hits an ace when they also had another overcard and a flush draw and a straight draw.
I was playing cash. This is a while ago now, but I was playing cash. Actually, our friend Mitch Towner, the Monster Stack winner of 2016 from the World Series of Poker, was at the table, and I flopped a combo, a big combo draw with overs, I think even, and I bet and got called. I bet the turn, and the guy shoved, and I called. It was for like not even that much more. I got there on the river,
What's wrong? I think he had the jack.
and the guy came over to me and sat down. He was all it wasn't upset, but he was a little like agitated. He's like, "You were like 3% there."
I'm not. I
I was like, 3%? 3%? What are you talking about? It's like 35%, man. He's like, no way, no way. I was like, I can show you on my phone. He's like, oh yeah, you show me. So I did, and he was like, oh, I guess you were like 35%. Never mind. But like, that's really interesting to me. That like, I turned my hand over. Like he could see that I had a straight draw, a flush draw, and I think and overs. I believe. You know.
Some people's brains work in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Well, that was such a big pot. They didn't care.
But he was, he was not inappropriate about it. I think, in fairness to him. Marty's calling the raise. Got the 3 deuce. In fairness to him, if he hits a 3, he's good pretty much always. We should lock it up unless
yeah.
it's a 3-4-5 board or something.
Good point. But we
Good
get
flop.
DM5 with top and bottom pair.
Check, check.
It's gonna be tough to get too much value out of this group. Once he bets.
Yeah, I don't see him getting called.
Don't think Joseph can call.
Joseph
He
has
does
2
have-
back doors, but
Yeah.
they're not amazing.
He's out of position. His hand isn't amazing. They're not amazing. He does have the overcard also, which really could be good.
You want me to call, fold, or raise?
I think Stuart, if I would have.
I think in position this is a call. Out of position this is a fold.
Choose to answer it. Help me. I'm not gonna waste a time card. Oh my gosh, he's so.
No,
All right, bud.
I think that hand kind of plays itself. Pretty sick turn card.
How does he,
Yeah.
how does he know?
It's all right.
How did you know? That I missed. How did you know? What did I have? Don't even want to tell me. That's it. See, that's just
Doesn't matter.
He knows, but he won't say. I think he knows both of my cards. He probably even knows the suit.
I got a peek.
Huh? Did you? Oh,
got a
that's how you know. That's how he knows. I flashed.
Joseph's table talk is
Go ahead.
interesting.
Last time you
Sometimes
did,
it
I
feels a
scooped a
little
big
bit
one.
like stabbing in
Hurry.
the dark, just trying to get any
Tell 'em.
piece of information. But I think Joseph really does
Paying attention?
try to put pieces together over time about players by doing all this kind of strange table talk stuff.
It's a visual game.
I hope so. I hope that's what's going on.
You're telling me you had pocket sevens basically by all this talk, right?
I had pocket sevens earlier.
Not
Queen
this
4 deuce.
Not this one.
Raise
Not this
60.
one. No. This one I have
Call.
a suited ace of hearts.
I wonder who
I was kinda
Stuart's
glad that
most likely 2 opponents will be in this
my
hand.
neighbor folded. I was
Well,
trying to
he's
figure out
up
what
against
was
2
right.
raggy 7s.
Three plays.
He's got the premium ace king suited, and there's the ace. Jack for DM5, which means money incoming for Stuart. Stuart is going to make some money
Yeah.
on this hand.
He should get a little bit of value.
Pretty good flop. These guys don't rate to have ace jack almost ever.
Fold.
Even ace 3, very, very unlikely for these guys. Wow, and DM5 just
Oh,
folds. A jack, he
DM5.
never folds.
I wonder if he picked up a tell on Stuart. I mean, something has to explain DM5's wild success historically on poker time beyond just pure luck, right? Because he
Yeah.
plays these ridiculous ranges, but then post flop he really navigates quite
Any
well,
basketball
like
fans?
exceptionally well in a
You
lot
wanna
of
hear about
cases.
Reggie Bullock?
So stuff like that, what he just did. I wonder if he has physical tells on people that are really pretty accurate.
He at least thinks he does. I mean, we see him like make some really crazy calls on turns and rivers for a lot of money, sometimes right, sometimes wrong,
But the
but
sick part
he trusts
about it,
his reads,
he had
that's for
another
sure.
Sister that got
And
stabbed.
I think, yeah, you're right. Overall, they've served him. That was a, like, he always, if he
Yeah,
has bottom
Baltimore.
pair, he's usually calling there. That's really interesting.
Raise 35.
Sounds like North Plains.
Fold, fold.
I mean, not like
Guess Stork's lucky he's moved to Vienna.
They filmed The Wire, and they got some real characters.
And
from
CM5 is going to own
You know,
him for the rest
DM5
of time.
actually
including Snoop.
DM5 actually moved to a suburb of Vienna though, and
I
there's
know North Plains is
there's
something like that.
only one poker
3-1.
club in the area, so
We got the garlic festival. In
no escaping.
I bet it's, yeah,
Fair enough.
just the smell alone.
Wonka with the best of it. DM5 with the Jack-6 off. Marty checks middle pair and turns 2 pair, and uh-oh. Wonka with a gutter.
It's Marty time.
DM5 picks up bottom pair. I mean, I guess Marty's probably just going to raise this, so, right?
Guy working at UPS somewhere.
Can we get the interns to make like a little graphical representation of Marty time whenever I
love
say
that.
it's Marty time?
So it should be happening right now. So if you're seeing it on your screen,
time.
that means the interns did it. And if you're not seeing your screen, then the interns are blowing us off again.
200.
Marty with the raise, and that's probably going to end it, right? Like, Wonka can only beat a 7 that would play it. Like, you assume spades bet the flop, don't raise the turn very often.
Yeah. It is Marty though.
It is. And Wonka does have the gutter as an extra bailout spot. Turns out he's got a few extra outs, too. And I guess the Martiness of it all is going to keep him in. Marty getting some value here. And, well, that should kill action. Or at least make it so Wonka doesn't lose any more money no matter what.
Check.
Marty going for value again. Just doesn't care.
50.
He doesn't even know how much value he's going for.
I just don't see Wonka ever paying this off. He's even got a spade in his hand. If like that's all he can beat is missed spades, right? Does he really think Marty raised
Yeah,
the
you'd-
turn and bet the river with a 6?
Clearly rational players. This would be an easier choice.
10 seconds.
Grant, is he gonna call?
He might. He blocks Jack 10 too, which is not good.
Yeah, good point. He doesn't block King 8, which must be what's going through his mind. I'm really surprised he's thinking about this. I guess he's just thinking it's Marty, right? That's the what he can't beat anything, but he can beat Marty sometimes.
I guess.
It's a really strange line for Marty to take with no value.
We've seen stranger things from Marty though.
Yeah. I've seen even stranger things on Netflix.
Not a sponsor.
Wonka using all the time cards for this. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. I used all yours up. You want to buy a couple?
No, just give me one.
Really trying to find a way to justify it. He's getting 3 to 1.
10 seconds.
I'll pay you back someday.
Appreciate
I think that the fact that the card was so polarizing means that Wonka can eliminate a lot of Marty's value raise hands, right? So now he can really, should only be a 7, but turns out Marty's totally going within value.
You can.
Makes a good fold in the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thank you.
Marty shows the 6, but
In case you had missed.
it's usually a good sign when they only show one card and they claim they're bluffing, right?
Yes.
What'd you have?
Pocket 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway. Yeah. Nice hand. Would you bet a 7 as well?
He easily would have had a 7.
I believe this is the last hand.
Yep, I'm getting the signal, Grant. Matilda is waving the handkerchief,
You got to.
or she calls it the kerchief. She's very old.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you should.
Very, very old.
You should just be thankful that she can still wave.
Yeah.
I should be thankful, or she should be thankful.
The whole world should be thankful because she
Okay.
does it in such a splendid way.
She really does bring joy to everyone just by walking in the room.
Raise 6.
It's like it's Joseph's turn to isolate Marty with the
Well-
Jack 4 suited.
Marty does have the Queen 3 off. I mean, this really should work.
Let me steal the last one. Let me steal this one. All right.
Oh, look at Joseph
like it's
talking
gonna
him into a
work.
fold. Joseph like talked to him
Unless
into a fold with
Marty's
that.
gonna play face up. Maybe Marty's gonna play face up.
That would be bold. And Joseph will take it down.
I have no idea.
And that is it for this session of Poker Time. We'll see you next week.
Am I supposed to know?